I just want to say before we start that last night was genuinely one of the best games I've watched all season.
I genuinely have no idea what sport you're talking about.
Does it matter?
Apparently not to you.
Basketball. The last 2 minutes were unbelievable. It went to overtime, and I was completely losing my mind on my couch at midnight.
And this is why we're doing today's topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Almost Fluent. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Marcus. Today we're talking about sports, watching them, following them, talking about them with other people. This is a topic where I'll be doing most of the explaining for once, and Kayla will be asking the questions that I suspect a lot of you also have. We'll cover everything from picking a team, to watching a game live, to what on earth to say when a coworker wants to talk sports and you have absolutely no idea what's going on.
That last one is very personally relevant to me. So let's start with the basics. Do most Americans follow sports?
A lot of them do, yeah. Sports are a huge part of everyday social life here. Conversations at work, at parties, with strangers. The four big ones are football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. Those are what people mean when they talk about the major leagues.
Football, meaning American football, not soccer.
Right, and that distinction trips people up all the time. In the US, football means the NFL. If you mean the sport with the round ball that the rest of the world calls football, you say soccer. It's one of the first things to get straight if you're new here.
Is soccer big in the U.S.?
It's growing, especially with younger people. MLS, which is Major League Soccer, has expanded a lot. But if someone at work says, "Did you see the game last night?" they almost certainly mean football or basketball, depending on the time of year.
The time of year matters?
Sports run in seasons, so what's on depends on when you are in the year. The NFL season, American football, runs through the fall and winter, peaking with the Super Bowl in February. NBA basketball overlaps with that and runs into the spring. Baseball is spring and summer, so the conversation shifts depending on the season.
How does someone who doesn't follow sports pick a team? Because I've never had one, and I genuinely don't know where you'd start.
Most people follow the team from the city they grew up in or live in. That's the most natural way in. You support your home team almost by default. You grow up hearing about them, seeing their colors everywhere, and it just becomes part of where you're from.
What if you're from another country and you've just moved here?
Then you pick the local team and you adopt them. Or you find a team you like the look of and go from there. The important thing is you have something to say when someone asks, "I follow the Lakers," or "I'm a big Packers fan." That one sentence opens up an entire conversation.
That's actually a useful thing to know. Having a team means you always have something to contribute when sports comes up socially.
Exactly. Even if you only know the basics about them, saying, "I'm following the Cubs this season, I'm still learning the rules," is more than enough to get someone talking. Sports fans love explaining things to new fans. It's not intimidating, it's an invitation.
What are the different ways people watch games? Because I know there's watching at home, but also bars and going to the actual stadium.
All three are really common, and each has a different feel. Watching at home is the most casual. You've got full control, you can pause and rewind, you can react however you want without worrying about the people around you.
That sounds more like me, if I'm being honest.
Watching at a sports bar is a completely different experience. It's loud, everyone's watching the same thing, strangers are suddenly your teammates for the evening. Someone scores and the whole room reacts at once. It's genuinely fun even if you don't know much about the sport. The energy carries you.
I've been to a bar when a big game was on and not known what was happening and still felt it. There's something contagious about that atmosphere.
That's exactly it.
And going to a live game in person is the full experience. You're there with tens of thousands of people. There's the pregame, the national anthem, the crowd noise when something happens. It's a whole event, not just watching a sport.
Pre-game meaning what? Before it starts?
Yeah, the build-up. People tailgate outside the stadium. That's when fans gather in the parking lot before the game, usually with food and drinks. It's a whole culture around it. Tailgating before a game is basically its own tradition.
Let's talk about the language specifically, because I think this is where a lot of learners get lost. Even if you understand what's happening on the field, the way people talk about it is full of phrases you wouldn't find in a textbook.
Sports vocabulary is its own thing. Some of it is very specific, like a franchise is a team and its whole organization. The roster is the list of players on the team. The draft is when teams pick new players coming out of college. Those are technical terms.
But then there's the more conversational side.
Right. You'll hear things like, they're on a losing streak. That means they've lost several games in a row. Or they're on a roll, the opposite. They're winning consistently. They choked means they were winning and then lost, usually in a dramatic or unexpected way.
Choked, that one comes up outside sports too.
All the time. Sports language bleeds into everyday English constantly. The ball's in your court comes from tennis. Touch base is from baseball. Hit it out of the park means to do something really well. If you understand where those phrases come from, they make a lot more sense.
That's actually a useful connection to make. A lot of everyday English expressions come from sport without people realizing it.
Especially in a work context. Moving the goalposts, changing the rules in the middle of something, a level playing field, everyone having equal conditions. These are sports metaphors that are completely normal in business conversations.
What about when you don't know anything about the sport someone's talking about and you want to join the conversation anyway? That's the situation I find myself in a lot.
Asking questions is genuinely the best move. Sports fans almost always enjoy being asked to explain something. I'm still learning. Can you catch me up on what happened? Is a completely fine thing to say. It's not admitting defeat, it's showing interest.
Is there a version of that sounds natural without being too formal?
What did I miss is a good one. It's casual and implies you're engaged even if you weren't watching. Who are we playing this week is useful if you know the team but not the schedule. Or just, what's the score? Which sounds obvious, but is a genuinely normal way to enter a sports conversation.
Who are we playing? I like that. It assumes you're already part of it.
That's exactly the thing. Using we when you talk about your team is completely normal. We won. We got destroyed. We need a new quarterback. It signals that you're a fan without having to say it. People do it automatically.
What about fantasy sports? Because I hear people talk about it constantly, and I have never understood what it actually is.
Fantasy sports is where you build your own imaginary team using real players from across the league, and your team scores points based on how those real players perform in real games. So if your fantasy team has a quarterback who throws 3 touchdowns on Sunday, you get points for that.
So you're not following one team, you're following individual players across multiple teams.
Exactly, and it means that even in a game between 2 teams you don't care about, you might have 3 players in that game, and suddenly you have a reason to watch every second of it.
That's clever, actually. It's a way of making any game relevant to you personally.
It's also massive for small talk. Fantasy leagues are usually done with groups of friends or colleagues, so it creates a whole shared conversation that runs across the entire season. People talk about their fantasy teams constantly.
So if someone at work asks about your fantasy team, that's a real question that requires a real answer.
And if you're in a league with them, it's basically a running conversation for 6 months. It's one of the best ways to bond with people over sports without needing to be an expert.
Before we wrap up, try this in the comments. Write one sentence about a sport or team you follow, or one sport you'd like to understand better. Something like, I support, and I've been following them for, or I'd like to understand better, I just don't know where to start. Even one sentence. It helps your English, and we genuinely want to know.
And if you have no team and no sport, that's a perfectly valid answer too. I don't follow sports, but after this episode, I might try. Counts. We'll read every one.
Sports, teams, watching games, sports bars, tailgating, fantasy leagues, and all the vocabulary that goes with it. Thanks so much for listening to Almost Fluent today, everyone. Whether you're a lifelong fan or someone who's only just learning what the draft means.
And the thing that's true about sports talk is also true about any topic in English. Having a few reliable phrases in your pocket makes you sound far more confident than you might feel. Who are we playing this week? They've been on a roll lately. I'm still learning, but I'm following the Lakers. That's enough to hold a conversation. The rest comes with time.
She's not wrong. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time on Almost Fluent.